The phone rings. In the silence of your executive suite, the vibration sounds like a drumbeat. You glance at the screen. The caller ID is unmistakable. It's the global CEO. Your heart rate quickens as you answer. The voice on the other end is familiar. The cadence is exact, and the tone carries a weight of extreme urgency. He speaks of a confidential acquisition that must be finalized within the hour, requiring an immediate transfer of $18.4 million to a new supplier account. He trusts you, he says, because of your discretion and speed. You don't hesitate. You've heard this voice in 100 boardrooms. But as the progress bar on your banking portal completes its final sweep, a chilling realization begins to dawn in the back of your mind. What if that voice you trusted was never real? Welcome to the new frontier of corporate warfare, where the most dangerous weapon isn't a virus or a bribe. It's the digital ghost of the person you trust most. This is the world of the deepfake heist. In the architecture of modern business, voice is far more than a simple medium for communication. It is the ultimate carrier of authority. From the very first day of our careers, we are psychologically trained to recognize the unique vocal signatures of our leaders, the specific way they emphasize a syllable, the rhythm of their breath, and the confident pitch of their commands. A familiar voice bypasses our critical analytical filters. It carries the immense weight of established trust and historical reliability. In a high-stakes corporate environment where seconds equal millions, when the boss speaks, the organization acts. This efficiency is the engine of commerce, but it is also a profound vulnerability. Fraudsters have identified this psychological shortcut as the perfect entry point. They have realized that they don't necessarily need to hack a server or crack a password if they can successfully hack the human ear. By weaponizing the sound of authority, they turn an executive's own reputation into a skeleton key for the company's treasury. The technology driving this invisible threat is sophisticated, accessible, and evolving at a terrifying exponential speed. Artificial intelligence can now analyze and replicate any human voice with a level of accuracy that was unimaginable just 24 months ago. These neural networks don't just record and play back audio. They capture the very essence of human speech, including emotional undertones, regional accents, and the subtle imperfections that make a voice sound human. What once required weeks of professional studio processing and expensive equipment can now be achieved in a matter of seconds by a generative AI model running on a consumer laptop. This isn't science fiction anymore. It is a weaponized tool being used right now to bypass the multi-million-dollar biometric and cybersecurity systems that global corporations rely on for protection. When the digital mask is perfect, the truth becomes entirely indistinguishable from the fraud. We are entering an era where our biological senses are no longer equipped to detect the difference between a colleague and a computer-generated algorithm designed to deceive us. Every high-tech weapon needs ammunition, and for an AI voice clone, that ammunition is raw data. Today, fraudsters act as digital scavengers, meticulously collecting voice samples from every available public source on the internet. For a high-level executive, this data is already abundant. They harvest high-quality audio from keynote speeches at international conferences, quarterly earnings calls recorded for investors, media interviews on major news networks, and even casual social media posts shared with friends. It only takes a few minutes of clear, high-quality audio for a modern AI model to build a functional, terrifyingly accurate digital twin of a human being. Your public presence, once a symbol of your professional success, has essentially become a detailed blueprint for your own criminal impersonation. The more successful you are, the more data you leave behind, and the easier it becomes for an attacker to synthesize your identity. The digital footprint you've spent a career building is now the very thing that can be used to tear your organization down from the inside out. Once the audio data is gathered, the AI engine goes to work behind the scenes. It doesn't just copy the voice, it meticulously deconstructs and recreates the speaker's unique vocal architecture. It maps the specific rhythm of their sentences, the way they pause for breath between thoughts, and the microscopic pitch shifts that occur when they are stressed or excited. These models understand the latent space of human speech, allowing the attacker to simply type any text into a computer and have it spoken back in the target's exact persona, complete with their signature inflections. The result is a digital ghost, a voice that sounds exactly like the CEO, but follows the cold, calculated script of a cybercriminal. This isn't a pre-recorded message or a simple soundboard. It's a dynamic, real-time avatar that can engage in conversation, answer questions, and react to the victim's responses. The fraudster isn't just imitating the boss. They are effectively wearing the boss's voice like a perfectly tailored suit, making the deception almost impossible to detect during a frantic, high-pressure phone call. Precision is the hallmark of a successful corporate heist. Modern attackers don't just target anyone, they choose their victims with surgical, intelligence-led care. They spend weeks performing reconnaissance using platforms like LinkedIn and company websites to map out the internal hierarchies of their target organization. They look for employees in the finance, treasury, or accounts payable departments, individuals who have the authority to move large sums of money, but are situated far enough down the chain of command to be intimidated by a sudden, direct instruction from the top. By understanding the reporting lines, they find the exact point of least resistance. An employee who is diligent, eager to please, and unlikely to question a senior leader. They look for the Rahuls and Priyas of the corporate world, honest professionals who take pride in their efficiency. These employees are selected not because they are weak, but because they are loyal. The attackers weaponize this loyalty, turning the victim's desire to be a team player into a devastating financial liability. The target isn't just a person, they are a calculated variable in a criminal equation. The moment of impact usually arrives during a period of high environmental stress, perhaps on a Friday afternoon or in the middle of a major quarterly transition. The phone rings, and the employee sees the name of the global CEO glowing on the screen. When they answer, the voice that speaks is unmistakably, chillingly familiar. It's warm, yet commanding, carrying the natural authority of a leader. To build immediate credibility, the voice mentions a top-secret acquisition or a highly sensitive legal settlement that only a tiny handful of people are supposed to know about. This creates an instant psychological bond of confidential trust between the executive and the employee. The victim feels flattered, even honored, to be included in such a high-stakes operation. Their critical guard drops immediately as they lean in to listen. In that split second, the biological defense system of the brain is completely overridden by the sound of a familiar, authoritative digital ghost. They aren't talking to a computer. In their mind, they are talking to the man who signs their paycheck. The trap is set, and the psychological doors are wide open. The instruction that follows is always framed with extreme life-or-death urgency. "We need to close this deal in the next 60 minutes, or we lose the competitive advantage forever," the voice says with practiced intensity. The caller provides specific bank details for an $18.4 million transfer to a critical supplier in a foreign jurisdiction. The pressure is both psychological and relentless, designed to prevent the victim from pausing to think. The voice actively discourages any form of standard verification, citing the need for absolute secrecy to avoid a catastrophic leak to the stock market. "Don't mention this to anyone, not even your direct supervisor," the voice warns. Under this massive artificial pressure, the standard corporate protocols, the double checks, the verbal confirmations, and the multi-factor authorizations suddenly seem like unnecessary bureaucratic obstacles to a mission-critical goal. The employee is convinced that they are saving the company, when in reality, they are about to hand over the keys to the vault. Every second of the ticking clock pushes them closer to the point of no return. With just a few final clicks and a digital signature, the damage is done. The transaction is authorized and $18.4 million are launched into the global banking network at the speed of light. To the employee, it feels like a moment of triumph, a high-stakes task successfully completed under intense pressure for the ultimate benefit of the firm. They exhale, leaning back in their chair, unaware that they have just facilitated a historic theft. To the attackers, this is the grand payoff for weeks of patient digital reconnaissance. But the money doesn't sit still in that first receiving account. It is immediately fractured and moved through a complex web of shell company accounts, layered across multiple jurisdictions, and laundered through various financial instruments before the sun even sets on the office where the call was received. By the time the employee leaves for the day, the stolen funds have already circled the globe twice, disappearing into a digital void where they are almost impossible to recover. The heist was clean, fast, and entirely silent. Because the fraud was initiated by what appeared to be a trusted internal voice, it often remains hidden for days, weeks, or in some cases, even months. Internal audit systems may not flag the transaction immediately because the authorization appeared to follow a legitimate, albeit urgent, path. The office returns to its normal rhythmic pulse, completely unaware that a significant portion of its capital has vanished. This period of delay is the fraudster's greatest ally. They use this time to ensure the funds are fully untraceable. This is the silent phase of the deepfake heist, where the victims remain blissfully ignorant of their loss. It's only when the real executive happens to mention a different project or a routine reconciliation reveals a massive discrepancy that the truth finally begins to emerge. But by then, the trail of the money has gone cold, leaving the organization to face a devastating financial loss, a PR nightmare, and a fundamental breach of trust that can take years to repair. The psychological impact on the employee who authorized the transfer is often even more profound as they realize their own loyalty was the tool used against them. Why does this specific form of fraud work so effectively, even on highly trained professionals? The answer lies in a powerful psychological phenomenon known as authority bias. It is a deep-seated human tendency to follow the instructions of those we perceive as being in charge, often without question. In a corporate culture that prizes speed, hierarchy, and executive decisiveness, questioning a direct order from a superior can feel like an act of rebellion, or even a career-ending move. The attackers masterfully exploit this social engineering loophole. They use the CEO's voice as a digital battering ram, designed to break through the victim's natural skepticism and common sense. It is a form of psychological hijack where the brain's amygdala, reacting to stress and urgency, prioritizes obedience and action over observation and critical thinking. This makes even the most seasoned, skeptical professionals vulnerable to the deception. The fraudster isn't just tricking the employee, they are manipulating the very social fabric of the corporation, turning a well-ordered hierarchy into a weapon of mass deception. We are hardwired to trust the voice of the leader, and that ancient instinct is now being used against us in the digital age. In almost every documented case of successful deepfake fraud, the entire disaster could have been averted by a single, simple, and low-tech action, independent verification. But the sheer technical sophistication of the voice clone creates a false, powerful sense of certainty. When the voice on the phone sounds exactly like the person you have known for years, your conscious mind tells you that any further verification is redundant or even insulting. The secondary phone call, the out-of-band secure message, or the simple face-to-face check is skipped because the voice was considered sufficient proof of identity. Fraudsters count on this specific lapse in protocol. They understand that in the modern, high-velocity office, we have been conditioned to value the speed and authority of the voice over the tedious safety of the process. They know that once they have established vocal trust, the victim will often actively work to help the fraudster bypass other security measures. The greatest vulnerability in any organization isn't the firewall or the encryption. It is the human assumption that seeing, or in this case, hearing, is believing. In the world of AI, that assumption is no longer just naive, it is dangerous. Effective corporate prevention begins with the ability to recognize the subtle warning signals that even the most advanced digital ghost cannot fully hide. Any request for a large, urgent, or non-standard financial transfer should immediately trigger a red alert in your mind, regardless of who is asking. Watch for requests that explicitly discourage you from consulting with your colleagues or following established internal controls. Pay close attention to the timing of these calls. Investigative data shows they disproportionately occur on Friday afternoons, late at night, or just before major public holidays when office staffing is thin and people are distracted. Perhaps most importantly, listen for the complete lack of a formal written trail. If an authority figure is asking you to break the rules or bypass the system based solely on a voice call, it is not a voice you should trust, no matter how familiar or persuasive it sounds. These are the moments where a healthy dose of professional skepticism is your most valuable asset. The fraudster is betting that you won't pause. Your job is to prove them wrong by stopping the clock and demanding a second form of proof. Awareness is the first line of defense against the invisible thief. The core lesson for the modern corporate professional is simple to state, but difficult to put into practice. Voice alone is no longer proof of identity. In an age of perfect digital clones and neural network impersonation, We must adopt a strict zero-trust approach to all forms of audio communication. If a phone call involves a significant financial transaction, the disclosure of sensitive data, or a request to bypass security protocols, it must be verified through an independent, secondary channel that was not initiated by the caller. This could be a quick, out-of-band message on a secure internal platform, or a callback to a pre-verified number stored in the company directory. A 60-second pause to send a confirmation can save an organization from a $20 million ruin. We must learn to separate the sound of the person from the identity of the person. Trust your professional instincts, but always verify the technology that is delivering the message. In the digital age, clarity is the only true defense against the digital mask. By building a culture of verification, we turn the attacker's greatest weapon into their greatest failure. Remember, if it's too urgent to verify, it's too dangerous to execute. As artificial intelligence continues to evolve at breakneck speed, the line between reality and simulation will only continue to blur. We are rapidly moving toward a world where every sensory input we receive, every sound we hear, and every image we see can be faked, scaled globally, and deployed by anyone with a basic laptop and an internet connection. Today, the primary threat is the voice clone. Tomorrow, it could be real-time, interactive deepfake video calls that are indistinguishable from the real thing. This threat is not a passing trend, it is becoming a permanent feature of the corporate risk landscape. Organizations that fail to fundamentally adapt their security culture and verification processes to this new reality aren't just at risk, they are already effectively compromised. In the ongoing battle for corporate secrets and financial integrity, your own ears and eyes have now become the primary targets of the most sophisticated criminals on the planet. Stay vigilant, stay skeptical, and never let the sound of a familiar voice blind you to the reality of the digital threat. The future of security isn't just about better firewalls. It's about a better understanding of the human element in a world of machines. If this video opened your eyes, like, share, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to Corporate Secrets.